Last time, this is part 2. Last time we talked about the essential elements of Gothic fiction. This time we are discussing
the plot order. This is the actual Propian kind of breakdown that I did, where there's an exact kind of order of things. The idea with a sort of Vladimir Prop style of breakdown is he was looking at Russian folktales basically, but so he boiled them down to very general A happens, and then this leads to B, which leads to C, which leads to D, etc. And he generalized it so much that you could apply his formula to any folktale. I kind of did that. That was my basis for the analysis, and then I was just having fun with it, I was just kind of riffing with myself. But so that was my inspiration for this analysis. Again, this is just for fun. This is not a serious scholarly analysis. This is a fun scholarly analysis. I enjoy this kind of thing, so this is for, enjoyment. And here's the author's note that I included when I sent this to you. I included an author's note. This is a generalization from the 2 summaries I read and what I know of Gothic literature in general. I think there's an emphasis on morality that you don't necessarily want in a modern Gothic, because obviously Christian morality is not really what we're not trying to preach here. We're not pushing some sort of agenda of, Jesus Christ, whatever.
If you don't want to.
If you don't want to, you could. In traditional Gothic literature, religion was obviously played a much bigger role than... You don't necessarily need religion in order to write Gothic, was what I was getting at.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that is the best summary of that.
Yeah. I figure for this, because the plot order, I think...
I have the books here.
Yes, we have our initial references here, as with the last time.
I read them.
I didn't.
read all of these books.
This is my order of plot, my plot order. So basically, this is the progression that I boiled down, as I stated, from 2 summaries that Sam said I should read, because I didn't know I wasn't going to read the books, and my general knowledge of Gothic literature. Because even if you haven't read Dracula or Jane Eyre, or you know of them, you've seen retellings, you've seen movies, you know them. They're very famous.
Some iteration of them.
Some sort of iteration, yeah. They've been retold, whatever. Order of events. I'm going to read these verbatim from my notes because if I do say so myself, I wrote this in a pretty clever way. Introduction of characters. Hint of mystery. Goes into. Then you lay the foundation for intrigue and or tragedy. And then tragedy. Very important. All caps tragedy. Not lowercase. It has to be in all caps. Tragedy. And then from there, you go into destitution, fumbling about, woe. You go into intrigue. You go into more woe, more fumbling about. There's a lot of fumbling, a lot of woe, a lot of intrigue. And then, in the midst of all this fumbling about, there's these mysteries. Oh my God, what's going on? I'm sad. Another tragedy. Again, all caps tragedy. There are no lowercase tragedies in Gothic romance. It's all uppercase tragedy. Shouty caps. Tragedy.
It's like someone dying.
Usually, death. Death, I think, is the main thing that happens. There's some big bad tragedy. Obviously, in a modern Gothic retelling, it doesn't have to be death. Death is, scary. People are scared of death, so it works as a tragedy.
I'm trying to think of references. I was in The Mysteries of Udolpho and Radcliffe, which we've referenced a lot, and which you used.
That was one of the summaries I used.
So in the beginning, we meet Emily and her parents, and it does kind of set the mystery because there's this whole thing where they're at a cottage and someone starts stealing her mother's stuff, and there's secret messages left in the cottage. We don't know who left them. Mm-hmm. And then her mother dies. And then Emily and her father go off on this, not really a journey because it's not trying to accomplish anything, but they go off on a travel. Mm-hmm. They go traveling. And that's when they meet Valancourt. And it ends with her father dying.
Second tragedy.
And then from there she goes to live with her aunt.
So yes, all caps tragedy. It's not just capital T tragedy, it's all caps tragedy. Death is a good one. Some sort of major change. Some sort of financial ruin, maybe, very abrupt, sort of, whatever, stuff like that. And then from that tragedy, it is a fight or a confrontation, violence of some sort. V dramatic. Not V dramatic. That is verbatim what I wrote. Very, very dramatic. Capital D dramatic. Not all caps dramatic. Just capital D dramatic.
So, as we'll just keep referencing this could be like Emily and her aunt.
Popular name.
Her aunt marries the Count Montoni, and he makes them go live at his castle, Udolpho, which is kind of crumbling and not taken care of. But there's a lot of conflict just with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's trying to get Emily's aunt to sign over all her possessions and her estate over to him.
Mm-hmm.
And she refuses.
Also,
She absolutely refuses. And there's this whole thing too with like criminals coming in and they're like literally fighting each other.
I remember reading it in the summer. It was wild. Even the summary of these books was wild.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, because you also used the monk. And I'm trying to think of that, because you start off with the main character, and she gets her fortune told, and it's a very tragic fortune that's told to her.
Tragedy.
It's more foreshadowing, yes. And then you find out about another character. He tells this whole story about how they were traveling, and like their carriage broke down, and they were kind of taken in by this family, but it turned out to be like a family of murderers. Gasp. That was a thing.
Intrigue.
And then there was another part where there was he was trying to help his loved one escape from his castle, but then it was actually a ghost that he helped escape. That was the thing.
Was that the one where he married the ghost by accident?
That was the bleeding nun.
The bleeding nun. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after you have this fight, the confrontation, some sort of violence, some sort of... Then, maybe you get an answer to a question or two, but it's not enough to satisfy anyone's curiosity about the larger intrigue, the mysteries at play. So, like, you get some answers, but they don't answer the big questions. They don't really illuminate anything important. You get enough, so it's like, okay, you get some crumbs, so you can keep going. That's really all it is. Because at some point, you can't keep introducing mystery without solving some of the mysteries. You gotta answer some of those questions before you go into anything else. So then you answer this question, right? Or, you solve some sort of small whatever. But then there's a plot twist. This could be anything. It's a plot twist. There's a million videos going over plot twists. There's a million and one, like, how to, plot twist, whatever. But basically, you want a 180 something. You want to come out of left field, sock somebody in the face with, whoa, kind of surprise, something's going on, kind of thing. Because again, you got to give the reader some information, so you give them a little bit of something, right? And they're like, oh, thanks. And then you pull the rug out, and they're like, oh my god. But since you answered a question, you have good faith with them, so they want to continue, even though you just pulled the rug out from under them because you're a horrible, horrible person. But that's kind of what being a reader is about, right? Like, the author is just tugging you along. And, I mean, you're letting the author tug you along. I mean, you read books that you don't like, and you finish them.
That's because I'm stubborn.
It's because you're stubborn. I get 10 pages into a book, and I'm not feeling this, and then I don't read it. So, they're allowing you as the author to tug them along. So you gotta give them a little something, answer a little bit of a question, but then you gotta keep them interested. They don't want to predict the ending. Nobody wants to read a book and predict the ending and have that prediction become reality.
There is a satisfaction to that, though.
Yeah,
but only if it's like really hard one.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like they have to earn. It has to be earned, basically. So, you want to put a plot twist in here. Keep up the intrigue. You've answered some questions. You got to introduce more. So, plot twist. And then after the plot twist, you need more, all caps, tragedy. And or intrigue. All caps. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. All caps, tragedy. All caps, intrigue. There are no lowercase letters in Gothic fiction. Metaphorically speaking. You should probably write your book.
Don't
with,
write it in all caps.
Don't write it. No one's gonna read it if you write it in all caps. Write it with proper, capitalization and grammar. But the idea, the idea is all caps tragedy and all caps intrigue. No, nothing small. There's no subtle. This is not like literary fiction. We are not dealing with metaphysical mumbo jumbo, whatever. This is big. It's grand. It's grandiose. It's not even just grand. It's grandiose. It's the grander word for grand. Am I wrong though? Grandiose is just a fancy way to say grand.
It is.
Like, you want grandiose. You don't want any simple sort of cut and dry whatever. You want convoluted. You want knots. You want tangled webs. This is, again, it's just the best way to describe it is all caps. So let's see. Yeah. So you have your plot twist and then tragedy and or intrigue afterwards. So then after that all caps tragedy and or all caps intrigue, you got more fumbling about, but maybe there's less woe involved this time. So, your characters are still your protagonists, I should say, not the antagonistic versus your main characters, your protagonists. They're still trying to figure it out. They're trying to find their way out of this mess that they're in, but there's a little less woe involved. They have a bit more purpose, they have a bit more clarity, more of a direction maybe, more drive, less sad. And then after that, you want to answer some more questions, answer some more mysteries. We're still not out of the dark yet, though. You can't, this is the thing about Gothic. You can't just give things away. This is not your traditional triangle sort of pyramid, like, you have, the beginning, and then you have the rising action, and then you have climax, and then you have falling action, and then that fancy French word I don't remember, and then you're done. Yes, that one. The thing about Gothic is you don't want that traditional sort of up and down structure. You want kind of a like up and down and up and down and up and down. Like you want a mountain range. You don't just want one mountain. You don't want one triangle. You want multiple triangles, and they should all be different heights. But yeah, so a little bit less woe, still more fumbling though, and then you answer some more questions. And then there's another plot twist. And I'm reading this. I literally wrote, gasp. What's happening? It's a plot twist. Again, you want to keep things interesting, keep things fresh. And this is based on the summaries I read. These books really do not follow that method I was talking about. They go all over the place. They're just hitting you. They're not even they're just hitting you over and over again.
I think the standards were a little different in the 18th and 19th centuries for what people expected out of a plot.
Yeah, a little formulaic.
Well, one of the things that I can say that is a big difference between writing now and writing back then. Alright, especially with these books, a lot of what it is just description of landscapes.
Yeah,
and places.
We covered that in part one.
Settings.
Settings are a big role.
But it's even more like pastoral is the word that you see a lot than books are now. Like now, like the setting functions as part of the plot, but this also just describes settings, just for the sake of describing setting.
You don't want to just fully copy the style of Gothic writers, right? Like you don't want to write in the same way that Anne Radcliffe or Jane Eyre or any of those Bram Stoker, Charlotte Bronte. Yes, sorry.
But at the same time, I feel like a lot of times, especially with young adult fiction, they spoon feed the plot too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, especially young adult fiction, I think is very formulaic. Because it is, I think young adult literature is where the money is in publishing. Personally. I don't work in book publishing, but as somebody who used to work in a library, who saw kind of literary trends, in terms of what was being read, what was being bought by the library, what was being heavily requested, heavily checked out. Young adult, I think, was definitely where it was at. As a modern writer, writing Gothic fiction, you don't necessarily have to spend 100 pages describing the scenery.
Please don't spend 100
Don't
pages.
do that. Don't. So I think you can definitely do it, right? Like, I think you can write Gothic literature for a modern audience, but it's really about the language. Like, the thing about Gothic for me, from, again, listening to you rant, reading the summaries you sent me, the kind of general knowledge I have from pop culture, retelling, stuff like that, my impression is it's just melodrama.
Yes.
Which is enjoyable. It's enjoyable. You know, you have really dramatic, you got the tragedy, again, all caps, tragedy. You got death, you've got, like, poverty, losing all of your earthly possessions, like, whatever. You've got these villains who are, like, these big sort of, like, I guess now I would use the word cartoonish, right?
Yeah.
Like, evil. They're not, it's not like, you know, now you have this emphasis on human villains or, you know, villains who aren't evil just to be villains or aren't evil for the sake of evil, but who have clearly defined motivations, stuff like that. Like, they think they're their own hero. And on a personal level, I mean, yes, that's true, and I do enjoy that. But I also enjoy the Gothic element of just good versus evil. It's simple, but it's entertaining. Right? And it's like, and when I was breaking down kind of the plot order here, the idea is to be entertaining. And it is a little bit of tragedy porn, I'm not gonna lie. You know, there's the big tragedies, you know, you got the deaths, whatever, but you've got, like, the big mysteries. And it's almost, again, bringing back the helmet, I love the helmet, silly. It's almost silly in a way. Especially the helmet. I mean, I'm sorry, but big helmet just goes, crushes somebody to death. That's great. That is some Vine energy in, like, 1700s, 18th century literature. Like, I jive with that. I love that. But the language, not my thing. So I think you could really bring back the Gothic genre if you just update the language a little bit. Honestly, I think it would do well.
All right.
This has turned into a pet talk.
Is this a challenge? Should we chronicle this?
We should. But then after this plot twist, things start becoming clear. You have a revelation. And revelation, I think, is kind of a common idea in any literature. Basically, with the revelation, you are answering the major question of the story. So you don't have to solve every mystery, right? Like, you don't have to answer every question. I think in all writing, but particularly in Gothic, any kind of mystery, any intrigue, the reader doesn't need all the answers. The reader doesn't want all the answers, I don't think. But you need to, if you have a main question, right? Or a main, like, thread, main theme, whatever. You got to answer that. And then, like, if there are any little threads, whatever, like, that's fine. But you want to answer your main question to a satisfactory degree. So things are becoming clear. It's a revelation, right? So you're getting towards the end here. If memory serves from the summary of the mysteries of Udolpho, this was the part with the cabin. Does that happen near the end?
There is a part where Emily escapes from the count.
Yeah, and then she's, like, in the forest.
She goes back to, because when her father had died in this, like, I guess kind of like village near a large castle.
Yeah, and he told her to burn.
And he told her to burn all these letters and papers and stuff, but it turned out that he was related to the people who actually owned the castle. And she ends up back in this with these people.
But yeah, you want to answer more questions. You have a big revelation. It's kind of like an aha moment, so epiphany, whatever.
There was also a whole thing with Valancourt being like, having ruined himself, so he wasn't worthy of Ellen anymore, so he has to redeem himself. But the big revelation is that she's actually they were related to the people who lived in this castle.
Yes. So from this, revelation, we're getting close to the conclusion here, and then this is very important. This is vital. People get what they deserve. So good people get good endings. Bad people get bad endings, which dead. Bad people die. That's how Gothic literature works. The bad people die, and that's, I think, the appeal of Gothic literature. people get what they deserve. So if you're a good person, you get a good ending. If you're a bad person, you die. Good is rewarded, bad is punished. I think that's the major sort of idea. And I think that's generally what happens in a lot of literature, but...
Well, it's like the happy ending. Though in Gothic literature, I don't think the ending is necessarily happy.
No.
It may be a just ending.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily a happy ending.
Yeah, well, and my actual note that I wrote is people get what they deserve. So, my parenthetical, good gets good, bad gets dead. However, people getting what they deserve, that's not necessarily a happy ending. The end. That's my last note. The end. But, again, this is just something that I put together based on what you told me, based on the summaries you said I should look at, my gleamings. Kind of the main idea, I think, slapstick's not the right word, but it's almost like a madcap adventure, but instead of being like a funny madcap adventure, it's like you've got like the tragedy. You've got the line of tragedy, like the sadness, the woe, the death. Like, it's a darker sort of madcap. Does that make sense? It's like if death was a comedian.
I think you definitely said it when you said it was melodramatic.
Yeah.
Everyone always describes it as melodramatic.
Yes, it's melodramatic.
But dark.
Yeah, it's dark, it's melodramatic, and that's what makes it enjoyable. So I definitely think there is room for it in a modern literary setting. Because when you think about it too, people love Gothic classics. Frankenstein. I mean, Frankenstein's kind of like a monster, like classic science fiction. You could argue about that. We could argue about that.
Well,
but it is technically a Gothic.
I read Gothic / early sci-fi.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, yes. But let's hold on. I want to take this moment to make a point about this book.
Here we go.
Phantom of the Opera.
Yep.
Phantom of the Opera is not a Gothic novel. It is a mystery novel.
Yeah.
It is a detective novel. But the musical was made into a Gothic romance. Andrew Lloyd Webber changed the genre of the novel from being a detective mystery to being a Gothic romance.
Gotcha. See, here's a funny thing about me. I've never read Phantom of the Opera. I've never even seen the musical or the movie Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, I know.
I have the musical version on DVD. I have the movie version. I've seen it in person twice.
Well, listen, maybe there's another video in there somewhere. But I was going to say I've never read the book.
I even have the silent version.
I've never read the book. I've never seen the musical, which I think the musical is the most famous. I have, however, seen the musical of the sequel.
No. First of all, that's not even based on this novel.
No, it's not.
It's not.
So that was my very official, very scholarly breakdown of the Gothic sort of plot structure. Yes. If you wanna follow along with us, check the box down below. Yeah, we're trying to wrap up.
And we'll brainstorm some more ideas for next time so we can continue.
Yes.
A writing series, and maybe we'll actually write something.
Maybe we'll just do wine nights and talk about stuff.
Maybe we should do wine nights and
writing wine. There's some sort of alliteration in there somewhere. They both begin with W. You get the idea. I guess if you're watching this and you're not us, or even if you are us, leave a comment if you have suggestions. But I think we're gonna try and make our wine nights a thing, writing vlogs. Talk about stuff.
Maybe talk about books some more.
Genres. Let us know if you enjoyed this. Give us a thumbs up.
Or not.
Anyways, this has been the part deux. Dose. Sure. Yeah, the only other 2 I know is Korean.
Zwei.
There you go, German.
It's like, how many languages do I know?
Too many.
Running through them all in my head.
This has been part 2 of our Gothic chit chat.
Will there be a part 3?
Probably.
Maybe we could talk about the books.
Yeah, we do. We do have the stack of books we can talk about. That will be mostly Sam talking, and then I'll just
maybe not then.
interject. No.
So this has been part 2
Yes, this is
of our Gothic chit chat.
This has been part 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Even if you didn't, leave a thumbs down.
No, stop. Anyway,
no,
there
can't be tamed.
There might be a part 3.
There probably will. There's definitely gonna be more of us sitting here.
Collins and be like, this whole video is a blooper reel.
Yeah. Let's film an outro. Films. These are just all bloopers. I don't even know what we've talked about today. What's happening? Who are you? Who am I?
Stay haunted.
Where are we?
Bye.
Annyeong. Bye. Peace.